All right, Texans versus Chiefs this week. I was going to say it doesn't seem long ago. It really wasn't long ago that many believed that this matchup was going to be maybe a perennial playoff matchup. Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes. You had the 2019 matchup, 24-0. We know the drill. And since then, the Texans have completely crumbled. Some of the worst front office work you'll ever see. And that's where we are right now. They've been a total disappointment. They've been one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. I think it's hilarious how Jack Easterby is now kind of rewriting history with his cronies, Thomas Dimitroff and the other guys, dense yet deep analytic guys, that he didn't have a role in that. But I digress. Point is, since then, the Texans have kind of crumbled. And I think a case can be made. I brought this up with John Lopez. I think I want to talk about this with Carrington Harrison out there at 6'10" in Kansas City. A case can be made. Kansas City has actually been somewhat of a disappointment as well during that time period. They have a Super Bowl, but didn't you expect them to have more than one? They lost to Tampa Bay, and obviously expectations are proportional with talent and with what you're capable of doing. But you have a Super Bowl loss to Tampa Bay. You have a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals to go to the Super Bowl. You can make a case that Kansas City really hasn't lived up to what we thought they would be with all that going on. I know we were throwing out the D word. We were throwing out dynasty, and it hasn't happened. And Kansas City comes to town with 4 games remaining, and the Houston Texans have a lot of decisions to be made, specifically with how they handle different roles with different players in regards to rest, in regards to evaluation, and many other things. And that's what I want to discuss in today's edition of the Locker Room. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Daily content about your Houston Texans, Houston sports, from yours truly of In the Loop on Sports Radio 610, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on the Odyssey app. I want to start with Dameon Pierce. There's talk that Dameon Pierce could miss a couple of weeks with the ankle injury. And the discussion now is, should he come back at all? What's the payoff for putting a guy who runs as hard as Dameon Pierce, who's shown you that at the very least, he's going to get many touches next year, hopefully when the games matter more and the team is better? What is the payoff for putting Dameon Pierce out there the final 2 weeks of the season? I don't think there is any payoff. I don't need to see any more from Dameon Pierce at this point. And I hear people say, well, he wants to go out there and get 1,000 yards. I think he's like 61 yards or whatever away from 1,000. Who cares? Like 1,000 yards doesn't mean anything at this point. I mean, it's especially in the NFL now. Like it's not like some sort of milestone. If there's some sort of contract bonus, maybe they can figure out how to do him some sort of solid or whatever. But the Texans, with nothing to gain, throwing Dameon Pierce back out there would be silly, in my opinion. What if he goes out there and he gets hurt? Because he only knows how to play one way. I thought it was very, very honorable that when he hurt his ankle last week, he still wanted to go back in the game. And you could tell, you can't keep his country ass off the field. He loves to play. He's going to play full speed. But, at this point, even in the final week of the season, I don't even want to see Tunsil out there. I don't want to see Titus out there. I want to see all backups out there. I'd like to see Jeff Driscoll almost get a start in the final week of the season. And I damn sure don't want to see Dameon Pierce go out there, especially coming off of an ankle injury. There's no point to that. You want him running up the middle against some of these defenses that they're going to see. You want him going against Jeffrey Simmons and all that? I don't. Some people do. I don't know what the payoff is of that. And furthermore, the most important thing for the Texans right now is to get that number 1 pick. So when it comes to, as we go through the roles here, topic number 1, Dameon Pierce, sit his country ass on the bench. Salute him for a great season and look forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table next year. Cause I think it's going to be very, very exciting. He's going to be a big part of what they do next year. And hopefully they get him some help at the running back position, which is not going to come with Eno Benjamin, unfortunately, who's already gone. Man, how rough does Eno Benjamin have to be to get released the week that Dameon Pierce gets hurt? He's now been released twice, waived twice this season, once by Arizona and now by the Texans when Dameon Pierce is out, and he couldn't even get on the field. And I'm not even upset about it. I don't know what kind of player Eno Benjamin is. I don't know. I don't have like great expectations for Eno Benjamin, but damn, I don't know if there's really a place for you in the league if you can't get carries here. Now, granted, the offensive, there's a lot of question marks about the offensive staff, and we have a lot of questions about Pep Hamilton. We have a lot of questions about how they use running backs. We have a lot of questions about how they evaluate running backs. But damn, Eno, if you can't get any run here, man, it's going to be an uphill battle for you to find a place in this league. Goodness gracious. That is really rough. Next person that will be evaluated, and I'm seeing the comments coming in. We'll go ahead and get to those at the end. Davis Mills. This is interesting. I think the evaluation of Davis Mills at this point, I think it's done when it comes to whether or not he can be your starting quarterback. I think they've already made that decision. And I think he made the decision for himself, not saying that he was put in the best position, but he played poorly no matter who was calling plays for him. He played very poorly, he being Davis Mills. But I think a case can be made, much like there's not much payoff for putting Dameon Pierce back on the field. A case can be made that Davis Mills, you benefit more from seeing what Davis Mills can do from red zone to red zone instead of rotating quarterbacks than you do getting a look at Jeff Driscoll. And I'm not saying Jeff Driscoll doesn't give you a better chance to win in that role. I don't know that they scored a touchdown last game without Jeff Driscoll coming into the game and doing what he did. But I do think there's a possibility that Davis Mills could be the backup quarterback for this squad. And if you want to evaluate, if you want to get valuable experience for Davis Mills, seeing Davis Mills over the course of an entire game, and you might not need to. And I know a lot of people are probably saying, why do we need to see that? He stinks. I don't want to see Davis Mills play anymore. I get that. I can understand that. But how much of a role do you think Jeff Driscoll is going to have next year? And if it is a role, it's probably going to be a third quarterback, and it's going to be a gadget type of guy. And you're going to use him that way. So what are you really gaining? And I know they're trying to win. So maybe that's the answer, is Jeff Driscoll gives you a better chance to win. But don't you think that you would want to see how Davis Mills responds and what Davis Mills does? I think a case can be made that maybe Jeff Driscoll, in the role that he had last game, not coming in on third down every once in a while, but the amount of snaps that he played, Jeff Driscoll kind of gets in the way of that evaluation. Or maybe they've just made their mind up on Davis Mills, which quite honestly, I couldn't blame them. Next person talking about roles. Derek Stingley. Shut his ass down for the remainder of the season, period. Shut him down. I think he showed some good things. I don't want to see him play in this system anymore. I don't want to see him in Lovie Smith's system. When we're talking about lower body injuries, I want to see him just rest up. And I know at the end of the year, we'll look at the numbers and say, well, he missed this many games. If you follow this team, you know, if they were competing, he probably could have played. But what's the payoff at this point? When it comes to Derek Stingley, just rest him. He's way, way, way too important, and err on the side of caution there. So Dameon Pierce, sit. Davis Mills, maybe see a little bit more of. Derek Stingley, sit. Brandon Cooks, whatever. I mean, if he doesn't want to play, it was a massive mistake not trading Brandon Cooks. And it's going to be cringeworthy when we see what he's traded for. But Brandon Cooks, if he doesn't want to play, and someone told me earlier today that he's actually hurt. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to see Brandon Cooks, and I don't. And honestly, like, and from both points of view, I don't blame Brandon Cooks for not wanting to play right now, for whatever reason. And I think we've gone through potential reasons. Brandon Cooks has decided that he doesn't want to be a part of this organization. That's fine. I probably wouldn't either. If I were him, I would not want to go through a rebuild, although I wouldn't also, latch my professional career with Jack Easterby, but to each his own. But if Brandon doesn't want to play, that's fine. I think it would be more beneficial to see Rodgers and Chris Moore get more reps because those guys could be a part of the team next year moving forward and could add some receiver depth. So it might be counterproductive to see Brandon Cooks play much more. And we could see some more, and we could see some more Rodgers. So Brandon Cooks, you don't want to play. That's cool. All right. Burkhead. Goodness gracious. I was talking to Sean Pendergast. I was just texting back and forth with Sean Pendergast. And I was asking him, because I put out a poll question at Landry Locker on Twitter. How many active players have been as despised as Rex Burkhead is currently by the Texans fan base? And it's a damn shame because Rex is a good guy. Got mutual friends with Rex Burkhead, great athlete. He's maximized all of his God-given ability. He's a great dude. If he was your fourth running back or maybe third running back, I don't think people would be too upset. But him being your second running back, it kind of puts him in a tough spot. And I think a lot of fans are just kind of sick of it. But my poll question was, who's going to see more carries on Sunday? Not who should, who is going to see more carries? And I actually bet my co-host, John Lopez, the OG John Lopez at Lopez on Sports. I actually bet Lopez that Rex Burkhead is going to see fewer carries than Dare. Now, the poll question that I put out right now at Landry Locker on Twitter, the poll question, it seems like people believe it's going to be Burkhead. Right now, it's at 60%. Some of the comments, the fact this is a question has to be asked is just sad. Hopefully, Dare. Who gets and who should are different answers, unfortunately. Burkhead, Dare is the better back, is why Burkhead will be on the field more because this team has some strange infatuation with them, and nothing else they've done makes sense. Why change now? David Johnson, someone said too soon. Someone said that's a depressing poll. I refuse to participate. Someone said Dare should get more, but the coaches love Rex more. For some reason, someone says Rex is garbage. I would rather see someone from the practice field get more carries. So that's where we're at. I do think the love with Rex Burkhead is a little bit weird. And the reason that it's so frustrating is because it's just kind of symbolic of, I think, some of the reason why the organization fell apart the way it did. And it's also symbolic of just the frustration of the Patriot way and that type of stuff. And people who are being with the Patriots get benefits. And I'll explain it like this. Jack Easterby goes around, he tells Bill Belichick tales, he tells Tom Brady tales, and he has no business being a front office guy. It's a joke. It really is a freaking joke that he was able to do what he did. And in large part, he was able to do that because of his role with the Patriots. And many believe here that there's like a fascination with the Patriots. So Jack Easterby was able to do what he did. It's the same thing with Rex Burkhead. Like, do you think if Rex Burkhead were a former Browns running back that we would be dealing with this? I don't. You think if you played for the Rams, we'd be dealing with this? I don't. I know familiarity is a thing, but when it's this blatantly obvious that you have probably the worst backup running back in football, and it comes on the aftermath of having the worst front office guy in the history of ever in Jack Easterby, both because they had Patriots, that's why people get pissed off. And there were a lot of people that used to get pissed off about Alfred Blue too. Sometimes it's just frustrating when you see how teams are able to shuffle in running backs, find running backs in different ways. When it comes across as you being unable to do that, and the reason that you're unable to do it is because of this teacher's pet buddy type thing. Bill O'Brien loved Alfred Blue, and I liked Alfred Blue. I thought Alfred Blue was a good dude. He's better than Rex Burkhead. Is at this point. I don't even think that's a question. But that's why people get ticked off about it. But as far as Rex Burkhead's role, again, Dari's going to be on the team next year. Dari's going to play special teams. It would be nice to see Dari get 20 carries in a game. Not saying it's going to go well, but just to get a look and see what it looks like. I think the coaching staff also might be kind of scared because they're going to look stupid. Because we've been saying since preseason, and this is another frustrating thing with fans, is you're tired of being smarter than your coaches. I mean, I know a lot of times from 10 to 2, we turn on the mic, and sometimes we're guilty of thinking we're smarter than we are. And in a perfect world, the coaches know better. That just doesn't seem like it's the case as much as it should be here. Whether it's a front office guy making a trade, whether it's coaches, it often just doesn't feel like they know best. And that's the frustrating thing about the Rex Burkhead thing. But what are you gaining from Rex Burkhead playing? Like, do they just want him to have a good game so they can say, ha ha, told you so? Is he going to be on the team next year? I mean, I would think not. I mean, I won't put anything past it, but I would think not. So that's just one of the frustrating things. So just to reset roles, and if you all have questions about other roles, go ahead and get them in. Dameon Pierce, sit. Davis Mills, maybe see a little bit more. Maybe you don't have to do it this game, but the final game of the year, maybe just let Davis Mills have every snap just so we can see how he handles it. Derek Stingley, I would sit. Brandon Cooks, sit. Rex Burkhead, shit. And Jonathan Grenard, this is another one that's come in. We got to see as much of Jonathan Grenard as we can. He hasn't really played much, so maybe get him a little momentum going into the offseason. If whenever he's ready to go, I think Jonathan Grenard would be someone play as much as possible. Maybe, limit the snaps early on, and then at the end of the season, the final game, get as many reps for Jonathan Grenard as you can, in as many different situations. Facebook user says, let's get Tony Pollard. I'm all in favor of overpaying a running back, especially one that has limited wear and tear and is at one of the best in the league when he plays. So I would be very much in favor of getting that country ass duo of Tony Pollard from Memphis and Dameon Pierce from Georgia out there on the field. That would be nice. I would be willing to do that. I would be willing to spend Cal's money to do that. Now it'll be harder for the Texans to win a game this year, which is good for them to tank because Dameon Pierce gives you a better chance to win. That's a fact. Very much so. The last 3 games scare me. We just need to lose to the Jags and Titans and get that number 1 pick secured. Something interesting kind of happened in that regard. I don't think the Bears win another game, but Denver is now favored against the Arizona Cardinals because Kyler Murray's out. And they're the other threat to getting the number 1 pick. So if Denver wins this week, that would give them 4 wins. The Texans have 1. And unless the Texans go 3-0, that would assure that they would have the number 2 pick at worst. I believe if Denver wins. So you're absolutely right there. The last 3 games will be interesting. They're division games, but the Jags are going to need to win. The Titans are going to need to win. So I think we're okay there. The only thing I look forward to is breaking news. Lopez was a character with that today. Cooks will get traded for a 4th, probably. That's about the Amari Cooper range. Landry, Cal and Hannah, there's no way they're okay seeing empty seats. Yeah, probably not. Brown Chubby Bear, I just want Dameon Pierce to come back to the Colts game and get those 61 yards so he can have his 1K season. I know he wants it. For what, though? And that's Brown Chubby Bear. Like, for what? Like, you want to risk Dameon Pierce getting banged up so he can get 1,000 yards? For what? Like, what's 1,000 yards these days? What does that mean? I don't think it means much. We'll have plenty of time. With $75 million cap space, I wonder what they're going to do. They're going to do plenty, man. They're going to do plenty. Arian Foster was an undrafted player. Let's see what young RBs we have in our practice squad. Man, I hate that example because, yeah, Arian was, and there's examples. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. Like, we can do this. We can do this all day with the undrafted guys and whatnot, but the best backs in the league are the ones that are drafted in the 2nd round. That's really like the money area for running backs these days is the 2nd. There's exceptions to everything. I don't even think you need to bring up Arian Foster, although I get what you're saying. You never know. You want to see what's going on. I think the bigger point here, and I'm not your point is your point. I just think that the payoff for playing Rex Burkhead is non-existent. And I don't know if they're scared that Dari is going to make them look dumb. I don't know if they want Rex Burkhead to have like some sort of like remix of what he did against the Chargers last year, that fluke Bill Plus, so that they can say, hey, everybody shut up. I don't know. Seems interesting. Browns fan here. What is Watson's on-field weakness? He seems to be hesitant on throwing towards the outside. Sometimes he holds on to the ball too long. I didn't watch y'all's game against Cincinnati. Sometimes he holds on to the ball too long. He does seem to be kind of trying to force it a little bit. But that would be my thing. Like, sometimes he holds on to the ball too long. He also spent more time with Quincy Avery than he ever has. I don't know what they were working on. But I mean, he's rusty. I wouldn't really, I wouldn't judge Deshaun too much on what you see right now. I think a lot of it has to do with rust, but he can definitely spin it. Why they cut Eno and keep Rex? I think you know the answer to that. They like Rex. What about Dearness Johnson from Cleveland? I like Dearness Johnson. He's another guy who has limited wear and tear that's been good. I wonder if Cleveland tries to keep him because I think Kareem Hunt's gone. So I could see Dearness Johnson staying there, but he's another guy. But I would just break the bank for Pollard. Yes, man, Johnson is being wasted here. He deserves a chance to play. Mitchell, you want the number 1 pick, like you think Nick pick Young. I think he needs to pick Young. I would make him pick Young. They need a quarterback. You wouldn't want to overpay Roquan Smith. That's a bigger need than RB. I don't know. I mean, I don't hate. I mean, I wouldn't overpay Roquan Smith. I mean, if you're going to do that, you probably draft a linebacker with the Cleveland pick. If you think that's a really big need, there's going to be some linebackers in that range or in the 2nd round. Dare or Burkhead to start? I don't know. That's the $1 million question. Ryan says, what's with us claiming guys off waivers and hardly giving them a chance? Examples, Benjamin, Tyler Johnson, and Teron Johnson. I don't know. And look, we did see Rodgers do a good job last game. So I'll give them credit for that. But it is weird that these guys don't even get like a look out there. And they don't have it's not like they have all pros in front of them. So I really don't know. Like it's not even that those guys don't work, because I don't know. I mean, there's a very good chance all three of these guys are out of the league very, very soon. But it is interesting that they don't even get a look. Maybe there's some sort of intense evaluation in practice, but it is strange, especially when you see like Baker Mayfield have like a day to prepare at quarterback and he goes out there and does his thing. Although Baker Mayfield's a higher caliber player with more experience. We really don't know what Nick wants to do. Thinking he's going to snatch up young automatic is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying I think he should. I don't know if he's going to. I hope Bijan is there at the top of the site. Man, if that happens, then I don't even. I saw McShay had him mocked in his top 5 to Philadelphia, which might seem crazy, but if you have an extra pick, and that's why I would be okay with the Texans doing it. If you have an extra pick, why not draft, one of the best, maybe the best player in college football in Bijan Robinson, and guy who can do a lot of things, especially if you have the extra pick. There's a lot of teams with extra picks, so maybe that's what happens. I want a QB. It's obvious, but I'm scared of Nick. Yeah, I'm scared of Nick too. We don't know what Nick is. We don't know what the hell he is. And then Dab says Bryce should be the number 1 pick. I agree with that. Final question I want to throw out before I get out of here. Go eat some dinner. What is the best thing? And I'm asking you guys too. What is the best thing that could happen to the Texans in regards to the AFC South? The best thing, like for the future, what would be the best thing that could happen for the Texans? My answer is Tennessee melts down and Tennessee loses the AFC South. Jacksonville goes 3-1. Tennessee goes 1-3. Jacksonville beats them the final game of the year. Now, I know that would, be some momentum for Trevor Lawrence, which might be the biggest nightmare, but the implosion of Indianapolis, which has already happened in front of our eyes this year, and then the implosion of Tennessee after they fire their general manager, in my opinion, would be the best thing that could happen to the Texans, because you'd have the 2 best teams in the division completely imploding. That's a dream scenario. I mean, what is Tennessee's offseason going to be like? If you fire the general manager and then all of a sudden you finish the season, what would they have to do to finish the season there? That would be 1-5 and lose the division. Jacksonville wins it at 8-9. That to me would be the best case scenario for the Texans. Just an implosion of Tennessee. Complete wetting of the bed at the end of the season. What say you? Put it in the comments. Hit me up at Landry Locker. We'll probably discuss this tomorrow. I'll finish off the questions and I'll get out of here. Brown Chubby Bear obviously listens to In the Loop. Shout out to the loopholes. If you listen, you are one. The real elephant in the room. Did you pee outside today? I did not. I very much enjoy peeing outside. Every time I go to the dog park, I want to pee outside, but I just don't do it because I don't want people to see me. Girls looking at me like I'm crazy. But women don't understand. Peeing outside it's a joy for guys. I do it when I'm driving. When I'm driving, like when I'm making the long trip down 45, I'll exit the access road. I'll just pee on the side of the road. Put the hazard lights on, go out there. There's just freedom. And you're risking, I don't know what the charge would be, but you're risking going to jail for that bleep. That's how much I love peeing outside. Would you trade Cooks for a 4th? Cooks and a 4th for Jordan Love? I don't really think much of Jordan Love. I definitely don't like him more than Bryce Young or Levis. And I don't know if the Packers are going to trade Jordan Love at this point, especially for that. But who knows? What do you think of Michelle having us take the tight end from Notre Dame with the 12th pick? Look, if he's a badass, that's cool because they need tight ends. They neglected the tight end position a little bit too much this offseason. It was interesting when they decided to bring back Farrow. I thought Farrow had a bad year. I was surprised by that. But look, Nick Caserio, the best draft they had in New England was when they took Rob Gronkowski and then they got Aaron Hernandez. It prolonged the career of Tom Brady. They got one of the best tight ends of all time, and then maybe a top when Aaron Hernandez was at his best before he started killing people. Top 7 tight end in the league. He was good. He was making bread. So if they can get some tight ends, that would be fine. The kid out of Utah is really good too. Might be able to get him in the second. So yeah, they definitely. I think the Texans should be one of those teams that is entertaining the possibility, and they have the extra third too. So maybe you can trade up, but entertain the possibility of trading up and getting the top tight end. But I will say this, and I don't like to use examples from the past and act like that's like a representation of what's going to go on in the future, like in an absolute manner. But it does seem like most of the time when someone takes a tight end in the top 15, it just doesn't go very well, or the pick is not justified. You can go through the whole list of guys, Vernon Davis, Eric Ebron. I think Tyler Eifert was taken pretty early. I mean, it seems like more times than not, Kellen Winslow, I think he's in jail now. Speaking of crime, tight ends. But it seems like you can find those guys in the second, third. But if you have an elite tight end, it's a very valuable thing. But I don't know. McShay seems to be kind of reaching there. I almost wonder if the guy, I mean, if you like him that much, if he falls to like the end of the first and you can trade up, go get the guy. But they definitely need a young tight end. They need guys that can make plays at that position. And I know Caserio knows that very well. Do I start Driscoll in fantasy and Yahoo as a tight end? Bro, I was talking about that today, Mitchell. Thank you for saying that. So if he gets a start at quarterback, then that's a no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. The problem is if he's just a gadget quarterback, more times than not, he's not going to have, a touchdown pass like he did last game. But because I remember one year, this was a long time ago. You guys might remember this, especially if you're millennials like myself. When Joe Webb started at quarterback, and he was listed as a wide receiver at Yahoo. It was back when Minnesota just had all these injuries. It was actually kind of a thrill. If Driscoll does get a start or something like that, it's wild. Or if Mills gets hobbled and he's the only quarterback, you're getting a steal at tight end. But I don't think as soft as the tight end position is in fantasy, even then, like a gadget Jeff Driscoll, I think you can do a better job just finding some sort of tight end. Tennessee melts down. All right, we're going through the AFC South best. Justin, Tennessee melts down, fires variable with GM situation. They ain't firing variable. They didn't fire John Robinson to fire variable. Colts hire an incompetent coach. Texans hire Ryans. I like where your mind's at there. Agree regarding top 10 tight end. Ain't no way taking a tight end at 12. I agree. I do like the guy, though. All of the teams have solid tight ends, much needed on this team if we draft Bryce. Yeah, just build around Bryce and get him ready. Steven says Texans draft Quentin Johnson with the 13th pick. I don't know how well he's going to run. I'm intrigued. Wide receivers, sometimes they look incredible in college, and then all of a sudden they just kind of bust out. I'm intrigued to see what Quentin Johnston runs. I also think the second round, there's going to be some really good receivers there. I keep mentioning Mims out of Oklahoma. He has not had a chance to kind of showcase what he's about. I actually also think the best receiver might be Addison out of USC. Keep an eye on him. I think he made $7 million at SC this year. Addison's a full, and so is Smith and Jigba. It'll be interesting to see what the receivers are. Smith and Jigba was banged up this year at Ohio State, but Smith and Jigba, Addison, might like them a little bit more than Johnston, although I like Johnston, and it'll be interesting to see what he runs because I do think the 40 time, while it can be overrated certain times, I do want to see, is Quentin Johnston, is he a 4.4 guy? If he's 4.4, he might not be there at 13. Or is he a 4.6 guy? Who knows? What's he going to run? But I do like Quentin Johnston. I don't like that he is a Texas Longhorn decommit. Thanks a lot, Tom Herman. So was Rondrell Moore. So yeah, they lost some good receivers. If not Young, who else do you like? Levis. I'm married to the quarterback at this point. We need some excitement. Build the team. If the quarterback crumbles in 2-3 years, oh well. You at least have some increased fan interest, and you're still able to build your squad. So I'm married to the quarterback at this point. I'm not even entertaining the trade down in defense. That can change though. We got a lot of time to the draft, and no matter what happens, just remember this. No matter what happens, whether the Texans stink, whether they draft bad, no matter what, we are in this together. Have a good one. I'm going to go get some grub. Appreciate y'all for riding with me. We'll keep this going. And keep commenting, keep hitting me up on social media. I love talking to all you. We're all in it together. Appreciate it.